Hi, Richard Moore here from 8stepStartup. Those of you who know 8stepStartup will know that I'm in regular contact with professors of world-class business schools, best-selling authors, and leaders from the most recognized companies in the world. And their content and advice and their insights come together to give great value to you watching this YouTube video, but of course to the 8-Step Startup course, which is now pretty much recognized as the most effective course for startup business owners online. And this week I've been in touch with a really important person in Facebook's growth. So Rajan Dev is the strategy lead. So he's in charge of all strategy for the global agency team at Facebook. And the idea is that in generating greater revenues, Facebook has aligned itself to work together with agencies in advertising. So he oversees their strategy. Now, I was in touch with Rajan because I was interested in looking at the early stages of taking a product from concept through to commercialization. And of course, at that point, that's when we've got to start thinking not just about the blueprint of what we've got and start thinking about how we engage with customers. So I've done a lot of this recently, speaking to people from the likes of Samsung and Microsoft and so on, just to get some feel on how they view the importance of customer engagement. And Rajan gave me some really simple advice, and he said, Richard, the first thing you've got to always do when it comes to looking at how you bring your product from this kind of idea in your mind to getting out to the masses, you've just got to do your research, and I think what he's talking about here is making sure that you don't sit on the idea of what you've got in a darkened room just with your own thoughts. You get out there and see whether or not it's really going to be something your customers are likely to want. And what he suggested, and in fact 8-Step Startup put this into practice, is that you test your idea early. So many people I speak to are holding off for whatever reason it might be, but it's almost like there's this fear. They're holding off getting their product out into the market and starting the process, not even of sales, but of getting feedback, because they're focusing more on just polishing off this product. And what you've got is so much time spent building the service that they're going to be delivering that you end up potentially with something no one will want, that too much time has been spent on. So there's this idea, and I think it's a wonderful one, of almost just something a little bit beyond a prototype, something that's workable. Get that out there. Let's see what the feedback is. That can be your version 1.0, and then take it from there. 8-Step Startup, of course, started in a beta phase. As we built content and built the program, I had people already using it. Because, of course, if everyone was negative, it would be obvious that maybe I should change a different tack. To build best part of 80 videos would take a huge amount of time if without getting feedback. It would be a bit crazy, really. So bear that in mind. Test your idea early. How soon can you get your idea out there? How soon can you even get elements of your idea out there? 8-Step Startup's constantly changing, and there's new projects being added all the time. So we're already running with some things because it makes sense to at least get some feel from our audience, and of course then that feeds into how you develop your product in the future. So just take a moment and look at what you're developing and ask, are there any elements of this that I can get feedback on? Can I test my idea early? And the other thing that Rajan mentioned is that there should be a real focus, and this isn't the first time I've heard this, of course, and nor the first time that I've shared it. You should be really focusing on the customer experience more than anything. And he said that so that you don't get any kind of what he calls false negatives. And I suppose what he's saying here is it's important to understand what the customers really want, sure, but look at how they are interacting with you. So you're not getting any kind of feedback that you're not quite aware of, or any feedback that's negative when in fact it doesn't need to be. Really focus on how these people feel around your product. Don't just get so embroiled in what the product actually looks like, but what's their experience going to be like of it. So the interface, if you're a website, what it feels like if it's a tactile product, how you interact with them or your reps if you do a face-to-face or over the phone service, for instance. All these things are really important. So the final thing, when I was talking to Rajan, like with all of these chaps, pretty much everyone I've ever spoken to, I always ask them what's the best piece of advice that they ever received. And it's one I haven't heard for a while, but it's a very good one. Rajan said, Richard, with bad news, okay, with bad news, it doesn't age like a fine wine, it doesn't get better with age. Bad news should be dealt with straight away. And I completely agree. It makes perfect sense. Don't sit on something, don't procrastinate. If there's something niggling, deal with it straight away. It won't get better. It will fester there in the background. So this is often what people say about daily routines. Do your hard things early, do what's difficult when it's easy. All these sayings, he's echoing that as well. So that's Rajan Dev. He's the strategy lead for the global agency team at Facebook. He's a really interesting character because he's focused very much on the interaction at a business level between Facebook's platform and agencies representing companies maybe like yours or larger businesses. So there's a real concern there over how communication really works. More of this, of course, on the 8-Step Startup course. Hope that's been of value. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.